What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning, yes, award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And realize that the Dr. Vibe show is the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And also, I'm a certified empowerment coach and president of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. We are blessed to have, I guess, a new person, but not really a new person on the Dr. Vibe show because we met a long while ago, but we've never been lady a mano together on a platform. So, and I said ladies first, just like Queen Latifah said, ladies first. And we are blessed and highly favored to have Tiffany Rashel on the line today. She is a powerhouse, and I've been waiting a long time to have her come on the program. What can I not say about her other than she's just outstanding? She's an international speaker, teacher, and trainer, who is an expert in the mindset and mastery, and believes that the healing of women is the key to healing the world. She's on Periscope every day, giving Monday to Friday, around 9ish in the morning or whenever she can make time from her positive, productive schedule. And I love her tagline: heal the women, heal the family, heal the community, heal the world. I love that. And she's done a lot of traveling. I've seen her scope and give messages from South Africa. So we are blessed and highly favored to have Miss Tiffany Rashel on the line. Tiffany, how are you doing?
Hey, Dr. Vibe. I am fantastic this evening, and I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. You are a tremendous voice. You are an amazingly supportive and, dare I say, loving man. And we're not intimate, just for
No,
those
no,
of
we're
those
we're
who
we're,
are
we're too
watching.
far away to be like that, you know?
And I'm married, but
Yeah, and so am
it's
I.
so nice to see a man with your type of compassion, and especially since compassionate leadership is one of my um, very, very one of those things I'm very passionate about. Then to see a compassionate leader actually moves my heart. So thank you for having me on tonight.
Wonderful. And we are going to get you to share a little bit about, pardon me, compassionate leadership tonight. But like we do on the Dr. Vibe conversation, can you give a little background about yourself, where you grew up, life growing up? Because I think it's very important that people hear some of your journey to know that you're an overcomer and where you came from to where you are today. So would you be comfortable sharing some of your journey with us?
Oh wow. Journeys are always interesting. So um, I like to give a Cliff Notes version. I consider myself a global citizen, but I'm from the Midwest, yay, Ohio, where we grow them sweet and we grow them smart and we grow them kind. Um, I grew up, I'm an only girl in a family of boys, so I have four brothers. And that gave me a lot of insight in dealing with men. So I've actually spent a long time advising, counseling, and coaching on relationships. And so my journey actually evolved. I was married, divorced, married again, divorced. I moved a couple of states, but all the time my passion has always been about helping others. And so my personal spiritual journey began around 7 or 8 years ago when I started looking for more. I knew that I helped. I knew that helping was in my heart, but I wanted more. I just didn't know what it was. And so the journey took me from DC to Florida to California, and now I'm back in Florida again. So that's where I am. And it actually also catapulted my international work. So I do international work, and this year I will be expanding my global presence to several different countries. So we can talk about that later. But is that a good start? Can we start there?
Yeah, that is a great start. I want to know what did growing up in a family of mostly boy siblings, how did you handle that? And how was that a good thing or not so good thing?
Well, it was funny because I was the oldest. And being the only girl, it had a lot of perks to it. You know, I was spoiled in a certain way. I had my own room always. Um, I got to do certain things my brothers didn't get to do. And that was a good thing. But I also got a great insight into masculinity and to manhood because my father was always and still is very present. And he was a man's man. So I got to learn male ethic. My father raised me very much like a guy, even though I was the only girl, princess girl. I was a tomboy. I'm still a tomboy, if truth be told. But I got to go outside and work in the fields with my brothers. My dad owned his own construction company, so I learned how to drive tractors. I learned how to drive trucks. My father was also very much about a very old school keep your word, be a person of your word, and to honor your name. And so those are very great dynamics that I received growing up that apply for me as a woman, but actually, again, just being able to be front row, front and center to watch a man raise sons and watch the dynamic progress was a benefit for me because it helped me in my current, my current life. It helped me in my relationships. Even though I've been divorced twice, it still was helpful.
Oh,
It was very helpful. And I felt very protected. I was covered. I've always felt very confident. So I believe growing up in that dynamic for me gave me the confidence that you see me have now.
right.
And it gave me the ability to have great relationships because my father was also a communicator, or is, I should say.
Right.
I said what? I'm thinking about past tense when I was young, but my father's a communicator. So I learned that men can communicate. I learned how men should treat a woman. I actually learned about my menstrual cycle from my father.
Okay.
My mother was there, but it's just a very interesting dynamic. So I had a great experience, and I know that it gave me the heart that I have today.
Now, you've mentioned how much of an influence your father had in your growing up. What kind of influence did your mother have in your growing up?
Well, my mom was the strongest personality in the house. So my mother instilled in me those strong woman, independent morals, and that she always taught me honor myself, to honor my body. My mother and my father, without sounding funny, were very sexy.
Okay.
They were never inappropriate, but my parents never shied away from their sexuality, and they
Right.
didn't shy away from the fact that they loved each other. My father never shied away from the fact that he loved my mother's body. And so it was just in that I became comfortable with that. My mother taught me about matching my underwear, my bra and panties, and about speaking and being a lady in public, and also being able to handle my business and take care of myself. And one of the things that had happened was my mother's parents were both dead by the time she was 16. So she had to take care of five brothers and sisters.
Wow. 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 Okay.
And my mother she's a very strong woman. Like she's a very strong woman because at a very young age she lost control of her life and had to take on the caring of others. So she spent a lifetime caring for other people. So I believe that at some point she felt that she would die early because her parents died at such young ages. So she always taught me to be ready. She was like, if something happens to me, you need to be able to take care of your brothers. You need to be able to take care of yourself. You always need to be present and able to do things. So, I saw a dynamic example, not just by her words, but by her actions. My mother had five children, and my
Wow.
mother was always very well put together. My mother always dressed nice. She dressed us nicely. So I got to see a very strong image of a strong woman that wasn't domineering and browbeating my father, but she was holding her own.
Understood. What sort of education did you do when you were younger? High school, college, university, and what sort of experience was that like?
I've always been a go and do it type of person. So I went through school, I went through vocational school, I did some college, and then I went through the University of Life.
Okay,
And
understood.
so I like to tell people, I like to tell people it's easier for me to tell you what I don't do
Right.
than to tell you what I do
Okay.
because I believe that I've lived several lifetimes in this lifetime.
Okay.
I modeled professionally for over 20 years. I choreographed, trained, and taught at modeling schools. I have been in customer service since I was young. And so I've had a broad range of experiences in caring for people in different sectors. So and then I'm still constantly in the University of the Universe, if that's what you want to, if you want to say that. Like every day to me is a class. The world is a classroom. So my travels abroad, my interaction with my students, my interaction with my coaching clients, with people in general is constantly teaching me and inspiring me to grow and expand and elevate.
Okay. So, how did you get involved in the area of modeling?
I just always liked it. And when I was 16, I wanted, I told my parents I wanted to model. And I grew up in a pretty strict religious background, so it was kind of like, oh no, the modeling world. And then at 17, when I was a senior in high school, I just kind of came home and was like, hey, there's a fashion show, I want to be in it. And I started going out to modeling go-sees and modeling calls, and then I started learning from the teachers and from the other models, and then it just really kind of expanded. But I had a pretty good modeling life. I've loved it. And
Nice.
again, I was a student of it, not just a practitioner. I think some of us take on careers and we only do the job, but we don't learn the behind the scenes. I'm very much a behind the scenes type of person, so I learned all the elements of it because I loved it. I still love it. Just in this part of my life, it's not in the forefront like it has been in the past.
Excellent. Well, I just want to invite people. We've got a number of people who are watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can certainly type it in on the side. And if you have any questions for Tiffany, please feel free. She will certainly answer them to the best of her ability. We'll get to the main part of the conversation as we transition from a little bit about herself. I just wanted to know, you said you start off with relationship coaching. How was that experience, or how did that experience start, and what did you gain from that?
I've always been a person that has been very level-headed and wise. And the funny thing is that people started to come to me because they knew I would give them an objective opinion. They knew that it didn't matter that I'm a woman, that there was not going to be a bias in my delivery of information. And people who know me and who have known me for a long time know that I'm a truth teller. So it doesn't matter if you don't particularly like it, you know that I'm always going to tell the truth. And so that was just kind of, I got a reputation for being trustworthy and consistent and private. I honor people's privacy. So you never are going to hear something that you told me out in the street, because that doesn't work. So I've always been a very private and yeah, a very private person. So confidentiality has always been paramount. So people just started, and then next thing you know, just in my circle of friends and being around people, they would always come to me, especially guys, because most of my friends are guys. So they would come to me and they'd start talking to me. And that's also another way how I got so much insight into men, because I
Okay.
spent a tremendous amount of time with men, not only watching them, but speaking with them, speaking to their heart, listening to their heartbreaks, listening to their worries and concerns when they're dating, listening to the troubles that they have and the things that make them pick certain women. So it gave me a really level platform to work from, because I had both sides of the coin and not just speaking from a female perspective.
Excellent. Well, and actually, you know what? I'm going to put you on the spot. What is one thing that most women don't know about men that they should know about men, since you have, and I say this in a positive manner, wonderful experiences with men? What is something that is a misconception, or maybe something that women don't know about men?
I think one of the biggest ones still is that men have no feelings. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that women carry around. And unfortunately, I want to throw this one in there too,
Sure.
is that there's a old school idea about chivalry and what men are supposed to be that has been stamped on men, just like it's been on women, but we're talking about men, has been stamped on men, and it has not, the definition hasn't changed with the time, with the technology, with everything. And so we have women who are expecting certain things from men when in fact the things that they're expecting have not been taught, are not even in play nowadays, even though they should be. It's not a norm that women are looking for. So it's that's always a big one. But definitely the fact that a lot of women think that men don't have heart, like they have no feelings.
Excellent. So we're going to spend the rest of our conversation talking about compassionate leadership. I'd like to know, before we get there, how did you transition from relationship coaching to leadership coaching?
You know, Doc, I think it's always in flux. In all honesty, I'm not a label person, and it actually was it was kind of a tough journey for me because I'm what you call one of those multi-passionate people, that I have a lot of skills. I can do a lot of things. I can do a lot of things well, but there's not one thing that stands out that stood out that I was the most passionate about. So I actually had a fear that I didn't have a passion. And what my friends pointed out to me was like, you're very passionate about people. Like, that's it. Like, you don't, yeah, it's not about being passionate as a lawyer or being passionate as, a baker or anything like that. Your passion is people. And so I started a relationship, and I kept searching for my why, for my what, for my how that I have supposed to present itself. And let me backtrack a little bit. I had to discover my own personal gift because I didn't think that I had a particular gift. But then come to find out, my ability to make things relatable, my ability to speak to anyone, my ability to connect people is my gift. My ability to tell the truth is
Yeah.
my gift.
Okay.
And so as I found,
I just want to interrupt you there, and my apologies here. Did you, obviously you found your gift on your own, but were other people telling you your gift and you weren't realizing it?
yeah.
Okay.
And I think that that's a part of most of our journey, especially the longer I coach, the longer I've been with people. It's always a thing that we either run from, or the thing that people tell us that we do the easiest, that is at least a part of our gifting and a part of our journey, our purpose. So I I couldn't figure out how to make it work because I'm a giver as well. So I became a certified coach, and I have a background in business and branding and marketing from being in the hotel industry. And so I had all this jumble of talents that I needed to keep compressing and bringing down till I finally reached the understanding that I'm in flux. And so I'm always able to give relationship advice. I'm always able to give feminine advice about being feminine. I'm always able to give certain business advice. And I use those skills as they're needed, but as 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 I elevate spiritually, as I elevate mentally, as I mature, then I work with what's in season for me at that time. And
Okay.
so last year, I'll just use an example. Last year, I was really pulled to healing women. The beginning of the year, it was like I heard the voice that said, heal my daughters. So All last year, I was focused. I was doing workshops with women and doing retreats. This year, I still do workshops. I still do retreats. My primary focus is still women. However, the marching orders I got for this year is compassionate leadership. And I've always been a leader. I've always taught leadership since I was in high school, to answer your first question. So leadership has just been a interwoven constant thread in my journey. So it's always been there. It's always going to be there. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing a fantastic job. And again, just want to shout out everyone who's watching the conversation live. It's appreciated. And again, more than welcome. Type in comments, questions that you have. Now, you are wanting to talk about compassionate leadership. So what I want to do is I want you to give your definition of leadership and also give your definition of compassion.
Okay. So nowadays, everybody's talking about leadership. Leadership is the person who's in charge. And, you have leaders who are just at the front of the line by title. And you have leaders who got it by default. So for me, I think there's levels in leadership, and this is my definition. So anybody can be trained to be a leader, right? You can get somebody and say, hey, I want you to manage this counter at McDonald's, or I want you to manage this group over here at Walmart, or you can train somebody to be a leader. But to be a good leader, I believe that people need to be born with a drive that says, okay, I can take charge. I can see down the road. I can lead people. A good leader inspires people. A good leader leads by example. A good leader is a person who is willing to get in the trenches and do what he's asked his followers to do. But a great leader is compassionate, because a great leader can manage, motivate, see the humanity of the people who follow him, and act in a very humane way in spite of and in abnormal circumstances.
Okay.
Hey,
it's your definition. Yeah, it's your definition, and I certainly go with it. So I want to ask, and you said something there. Do you? And I'm going to ask you as a conversation piece. Can leadership be learned?
Leadership can be learned. That was the first. That was the first type of leader.
Okay.
Is that anybody can learn to lead? Anybody can learn to lead. And I do believe that you can learn compassion. However, it's not always, they don't always go hand in hand. So that's why there's a need now to talk about it. So compassion, I'm sorry, you asked about my definition of compassion. Compassion is the ability to share your heart and be humane and be kind and be generous and to care about other people's circumstances.
Excellent. So, okay.
Yeah, a compassionate leader can see outside of themselves and outside of the rules and the rule book and the box.
Excellent. I just want to catch up here. Want to say a shout out to everyone who's watching this live, and just a special shout out to Brian Lobig. Has some comments here, and he's saying good words. Finding one's passion is crucial for maximum success. And he also says good versus great equals see the humanity of people. So he is enjoying what you're sharing, Tiffany. I want to bring out here, especially in these days, compassionate leadership. Do you think today or these days is one of the best times in regards to compassionate leadership, with so much going on in the world and a lot of people feeling left out? Is now a great time to bring on compassionate leadership?
That is a great question, Doc. And that's exactly why I know that's my focus for the year. Because right now we are in such a state of turmoil, upheaval, and chaos, not just here, but around the world. Right? And so our world has changed. And not everybody is equipped that's in leadership to work within the change. So here's one of the examples I'm talking about. Our technology has changed. Jobs are going away because they're finding robots and they're looking to bring other elements in. Also, the fact that we live in a society, in a world where tragedy, crisis is almost inevitable. It can occur in any number of ways. It can be a natural disaster. We can have a crisis that's a terroristic threat or a terroristic act, or we can have just a plain old accident. And we have, not to mention police brutality, not to mention community upheaval. All these areas require leadership. All these areas have leaders. And so with this rapid change, some of the last things people are doing is trying to tell their people how to be nice. They're just trying to survive, trying to hold on, trying to hang on, trying to not lose the farm, whatever it is. And so in this time, this is exactly why it's important to have compassionate leadership, because also the leaders are the ones who are going to help cultivate and motivate the masses. And you want to know what the leaders are motivating the masses to do. And if a leader is operating in their own best interest, if a leader is operating outside of a humanity-based ideology, if a leader is operating in self-interest, we're going to have problems all the time. But if a leader is taught to be compassionate, and then taught that the compassion spills over to their underlings, and that the people under them begin to say, oh, this is compassionate leadership, I can be compassionate too. It trickles down and it works miracles, because basically compassion is love. It's love.
So here's the
people
point.
Don't necessarily want to talk about that.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's love.
Here's an interesting point now. Love and leadership, can they coexist together? Because a lot of people say you can't get too close to the people you're leading because that gets you emotionally involved. So could you share about this whole aspect of how can you marry love and leadership in 2017?
The thing about marrying love and leadership is that you don't have to marry them. What I'm looking for people to do and to help lead people and support them in is coming from a place of love no matter what they do. And then it doesn't become a question. It doesn't become, can I be this or can I be that? When we come from a space of love at all times, there's no vibration higher than love. There's no answer higher than love. So you imagine if you're coming from a space of love, sometimes love is tough love. So yes, you can be a leader and talk about love and be love without giving or losing what is important. And I think that's a very good question, because that's one of the things that people have a question. Well, I can't be nice and be a leader. Yes, you can. Yes, you most definitely can. And I think, in all honesty, and this is nothing to do with my political views, this has nothing to do with political views of other people, I believe that President Barack Obama was a very good example of love and leadership. I think he was graceful, he was gracious, and I know it wasn't always easy. But there were times, and I know there were times that people thought he should have been harder. But coming from a space of love, you're going to do more good than harm.
Absolutely. And not getting too much into the whole political situation, I think that one of the great examples, his love and leadership started with his own family. It actually,
yes.
and it started especially with his wife. So you saw that love and leadership in his family. And a lot of times people say, well, if you can't lead in the home, you can't lead anywhere else. So that, so there's a point there. So just want to thank you. It's Pi3_14. Yes, she's saying self-interest equals issues. Tiffany is on fire.
Oh, thank you, Pi.
This is good. So when it comes to leadership, and you are focusing empowering, equipping, and enlightening women. Where do you feel when you are dealing with women in regards to compassionate leadership? Where are they lacking, or are they, how could I say, lack of a better word, afraid to get into that area of leadership? So when the clients that are coming to you, where are they in the leadership journey?
Oh wow, that's a loaded question, Doc. Let me see. Let me take this in parts.
Okay.
Um, One of the first things that I deal with, again, reconnecting women with their divine feminine.
Okay.
And
What does that mean? Right there,
what,
define that. Break that down for us.
okay, so there is masculine energy and there's feminine energy. And we both, men and women, have masculine and feminine. As a woman, we operate more in our feminine energy. As a male, you will operate more in your masculine energy. However, what has happened is that women, the dynamics of the changing relationship that I talked about earlier, where the definition of manhood, the definition of womanhood has been changed, has been kind of upheaval. There's been upheaved. Women have been acting more in a masculine capacity for a long time, for whatever reason, single parents, um, disappointment, abuse, trauma. And so we have come out of our natural element. So surprisingly enough, you'd be interested to find that a lot of women that I work with are so masculine, they don't know how to let down their guard. They don't know how to be soft. They don't know how to be just loving because they're afraid, because they've either been disappointed, hurt, traumatized. Something has occurred to make them question or not trust that they can survive by being feminine or being woman. So that's one of the first things. So you have women who are tough with their kids. They're tough with their man. They're tough on the job, and those are the ones that they call, they get called the B word, or they're questioned about whether they're PMSing. But most women are the toughest on themselves. As tough as you think they are on anybody else, they're the toughest on themselves. And so being able to get leaders to be able to have compassion with themselves first is usually one of the most challenging things that I have to deal with. And then the next part is the undercurrent of women being inferior in our society, and in many places in the world. We're taught we're not enough. We don't equal to a man. We don't have the qualifications. So what women tend to do is we ask for little and we settle for less.
Wow. Say that again.
We will ask for a little and then we'll settle for less because we're afraid. We're afraid to ask for our worth. We're afraid that we'll be turned down. We're afraid that we won't be valued, or we can't have. I can't remember the statistics, but statistically, when a woman goes into a job and negotiates her rate, she already starts out under and then goes below what a man coming into that same job would require or ask for. And then we're usually timid to ask for it.
Wow. So how much has the leadership environment changed for women over the last few years? And has, like, you hear about more women, and I guess we'll talk corporate, more women, not enough women, but more women getting into leadership roles. How much of an impact has that made for the rest of womanhood?
I think that whole flow of watching women in corporate, first we went from fighting to get a job other than a secretary to getting executive positions, and then fighting so hard for them. We sacrificed everything, sacrificed our home life, our children, our family, and carried around guilt for being this woman who wanted a career. And then now you're kind of seeing the flow go backwards, where women are saying, hey, I like my corporate job and I like my family and it's okay. Then you have other women saying, I don't want to be in corporate, I want to be home. And then you have other women yet saying, I don't want kids, I don't want a family, I just want to be over here. And so what I think has transpired is that now women are becoming more emboldened to be women by their own accord. It's still a work in progress, but it's the woman's voice is getting louder for herself to be able to speak up and say, this is what I want. But what else it has done in leadership is it has brought out the woman entrepreneur. Women are starting businesses at exponential rates, especially minority women. And so that's that's definitely a tricky part, because being an entrepreneur, you're a leader, even if you're only leading yourself. So being able to take charge, do the things that are needed, having the discipline as well as the strategy and the foundation set in place, all that factors in. But it's just very interesting because now, and I can't even get into the new feminists, into the LGBT. So there's a whole big mushrooming effect with women in leadership. We're leading movements, we're leading marches, we're leading, we're leading politics and economics. So trying to balance out being a woman and still being able to understand that we can still be soft and still be effective. We don't have to act like men to be impactful.
Excellent. As again, thank everyone here who's providing their commentary. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. Brian Lobig again has hashtag ask for little, hashtag settle for less. You should use that, Tiff. You should use that. You should start using those hashtags. That'd be good stuff, especially we'll get to a conversation piece before the end of this show tonight. And Lena Anderson says, and then hold on to resentments. So when you're coaching, empowering the women you are in regards to compassionate leadership, how much of holding on resentment comes up in the conversation?
Oh, um, unforgiveness is one of the number one things that women contend with, and it's usually either unforgiveness for somebody or something that happened to them in their childhood, or something that they themselves did or feel shame or guilt around. And so I like to dig to the core. I've had, in like I said, I teach femininity. That's not the focus of this season, but in the past, I've had women who came to me and they wanted me to teach them how to be sensual, and they wanted me to teach them how to get a man and to talk to a man and to have conversation with a man. And they came to me thinking I was going to teach them how to put on lipstick and to walk and to look over your shoulder like a geisha, when in actuality, I work with them with clearing the blocks that they had in their spirit, the blocks that they had in their heart. And 9 times out of 10, it was anger and unforgiveness. Anger and
Wow.
unforgiveness, that resentment because they're carrying the load and don't feel like there's anybody helping them. Resentment because they lost a lover or somebody cheated on them and it broke their heart and they never were able to find love again. Resentment because somebody didn't believe in them or support them. Resentment because somebody died.
Wow.
So there's a lot of dynamics, and being able to help women overcome that has truly been one of the most rewarding aspects of my life and of my coaching and my healing work. Because when you see a woman release unforgiveness, her face changes, her body changes, her essence, her energy changes. And as that changes, that goes to my saying of, as she heals, she's able to heal others. So
Wonderful. That
that's a fact.
I and I know it's been said a lot of times, but I just want to bring it up again. You've you've had a lot of experience in regards being in environments of men, and now you're basically going full throttle into coaching women. Just bring it out to us, and I know it, and probably and you know it, but just to our audience, how does a lady? You've said to us how a lady handles resentment. How do men handle resentment different than women?
Hmm. It depends on who they're resenting. Most of the time, men are able to let go of things a little bit easier than women. And believe it or not, a man will be resentful, but he'll either eliminate what he resents from his life, or he'll work harder to overcome and be successful at what he has. Unless, of course, it's a mom and parent issue, then that's a whole different beast that you're working with. But men, I find, tend to be more willing to let things go than women, unless it's love. Sometimes they're equal in that aspect. But this isn't a love and a relationship conversation.
Exactly.
But
Well, that's
I find,
a whole other
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah. But I find that women tend to hold, and women will verbalize their resentment to everybody else but the person they're resenting.
Okay.
And men may not speak on it, but they'll move past it.
Okay. Good.
And they don't often get to share. But if they have a problem with you and you're a guy, they'll generally tend to let it out. They'll say it. If it's a woman, they just stay brokenhearted and quiet about it because they don't want to seem weak. So yeah, those are just some of the things. Of course, everybody's different. Not
Sure.
everybody's the same. But
Sure.
those are the things that I notice the most in overall in the dynamics.
Uh, just a little sidelight. How were you able, and give us a little the background story, to take your compassionate leadership teaching, sharing to South Africa? How did that come about?
Oh my God, that was such an amazing and divine journey. And I will tell you that it began with making a decision. It began with deciding that I want to help on a larger scale. And then I wrote it down. I actually wrote down 6 countries that I wanted to make an impact in. And I wrote it down a year before, having no idea that the very next year, which was 2015, I would be going to South Africa. But I started with writing it down that I wanted to work with women and work with people abroad. And so almost a year to the date that I wrote it down, it actually came back up. And I got the opportunity from a friend of mine. She started a social change agents group, agency. And so what that means is she goes to different countries and doesn't go and build things. She doesn't go and drop things off. It's about starting conversations and actually changing the conversations in places where, like South Africa and Brazil and Dominican Republic, where there's a culture. We don't come in and try to change the culture. We try to change the conversation so that they can work within their culture and change what needs to be changed to grow. So that's the way that started for me. If she had an opportunity to go to South Africa, I said, I'm in. I literally had to raise money to go. And I did that. And it has been one of the most rewarding experiences in my life. I'm actually headed back in 3 weeks.
Good
And
for
this will be my
you.
fourth trip since, yeah, it'll be my fourth trip since 2015, and it's expanded and grown every single time. I work right now. This time I'm working with 22 people in a village in Mafeking. There's villages and townships, which is in the north part of South Africa, so it's close to Botswana. It's grown and it's going to continue to grow. I'm looking to expand to where the students that I have actually become the trainers, and we're looking to build a resource center that'll help the community have health care, have places to have classes, and to take care of children. So it's a phenomenal work. And this year I'm actually spreading to New Delhi and to Morocco. So
Wow.
I'm
So let me ask you, does your approach differ in America compared to South Africa when it comes to compassionate leadership?
it differs not because I need to teach differently. It's different because they receive differently. And the thing that actually I love about going to South Africa is they're so hungry, they're so ready, respectful, and grateful. They're highly educated, highly intelligent. So there's no, in many ways, there's not a lot of difference in America other than culturally. But going over there, they still respect the fact that this is some knowledge that will help, that will change. They're looking for hope. So they're taking it and they're running with it. So it's very easy to teach over there. And so when I teach here, a lot of times I have to prepare myself because it's tougher to teach here. Because as Americans, we feel privileged, we feel entitled. A lot of times we feel like we already know the answers. And so, and we're distracted. We're distracted by our electronics, we're distracted by our cell phones. And so our attention span is different here than there. And so, yeah, I can kind of sometimes get a lot more done over there just because there's not so much distraction.
Wonderful.
But
I
in both places, I just want to add this. In both places, I always share with love. So that's one thing that doesn't change in either way. It's always about truth, authenticity, transparency, and love.
what I got one or two roads I can go down here. Okay, I'll go down this road. How are you seeing women change during your journey? What changes are you seeing in women through your compassionate leadership
They're awake.
journey?
Women are awakening. Women are feeling emboldened, and we are actually kind of going back. We're looking for that sisterhood we used to have that's different than what reality TV is showing us now. Women are tired of the harsh, the heavy, the grind, the hardness. So we're coming together and seeking the elements of what makes us women. We're coming together and seeking sisterhood. That's one way. So we're recreating these communities and these tribes so that we can thrive and work together. But also, we're raising our voice, and we're raising our voice in ways that we wouldn't before. And we are also coming to an understanding that it's okay to be who we are. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of what's happening. I just finished teaching a 4-week course online to a group of women, and it was entitled Awaken Your Divine. And at the end of the course, the women were just like, wow, I'm so in touch with myself. I'm so in touch with my feelings. And I understand that the way I'm designed is not a mistake, that I'm okay, and that it's okay for me to be who I am, love how I love, see how I see. And then I can still have a conversation to be able to move through it. So women are seeking that balance. So I think that's one of the biggest ways that we're changing. It's like we're going back to the old school hardy version of womanhood with the present day elements of liberation and freedom.
Okay, and we had discussed before the conversation went live that I'd like to get your thought process on what happened last Saturday in regards to the March on Washington and a march in a lot of different cities. So that's why I wanted to ask that conversation piece first to lead into what your thoughts on the March on Washington, and how do you feel with compassionate leadership? What suggestions do you feel need to be put in action to continue that day of compassionate leadership?
I thought that the marches were a tremendous, tremendous display of the power of unity and communication in womanhood. What I thought it was amazing that they were able to organize, and literally that women around the world participated and stood up. What I would like to see is for women past the march to understand that the only way that this is truly going to be rectified, that we're going to have, we're going to see changes that are for the positive, is that we have to collectively come together after the march and speak up. And not just speak up and want to be loud and be heard, but speak up and listen. And one of the biggest hindrances for us as women is our judgment of one another. And I find that sometimes our judgment of each other is more harsh than what a man would do. And so if we can start to curb that dynamic of judgment and labeling within our own female community, and understand that there's a place for everybody, because everybody's needed. There's a position. I always liken it to a chessboard. A chessboard has pieces. There's pawns, there's knights, there's bishops, there's rooks, there's all of the pieces, and every piece has its part. You don't ask a rook to be a bishop, you don't ask a bishop to be a pawn. Why? Because everybody has their part. So once we as a female community can understand our roles, accept them, and then encourage and help each other flourish in them, then we'll actually begin to see a vast improvement. We'll be able to see change, not just again in ourselves and in our home, but worldwide. Women are the key to changing the world, if for no other reason than the fact that we bring life into the world. We carry life.
I just want to ask you too, that was a strong day for feminism. How fine is a tightrope between, on the one side, feminism, and on the other side, compassionate leadership? How can those be married together going forward?
Again, I think that compassionate leaders are able to see above the issue. They're able to see above the label, and they're able to see above their own self-interest and ideology. So as a leader, as a feminist leader, it's important, it's going to be imperative that they're able to employ that and to understand that I don't need to label what type of feminist you are, because I've seen that a lot. Well, you're this type of feminist and this type of feminist. Okay, I don't need to label what type of woman you are. All I need to do is say you're a woman, and what type of woman are you, and let's work with that, versus the shaming that I see often happen amongst feminists, non-feminists, liberals, conservatives. Stop holding on to the labels and employ compassion. And as a compassionate leader, one of the biggest points of compassion is the ability to listen. We have to be able to listen as much as we speak. And so I think that if these leaders would do a little more listening, in some instances, that the results could be better, and there would be more. It would do more to expand the cause and to invite more people into the fold, into the movement, than repelling them.
Okay. Are there any other threats that you haven't mentioned to women when it comes to compassionate leadership? Or is there a big are some of the major threats I think you just rolled by? Are there any other threats, especially macro, systemic threats to women when it comes to compassionate leadership that are of your concern?
One of this is a conversation that I've been seeing play out a lot, is intersectional feminism. And so in order to galvanize, to listen, to come together, we also have to be willing to listen and get our feelings hurt and not be overly sensitive to certain things, because that is one thing that I would say. Our blessing can also be our curse. Our ability to be sensitive, our ability to be emotional, our ability to be feeling can also go in the wrong direction if we don't have a management in place of it. And so if you're speaking to me and we're trying to come to an agreement, but I'm super sensitive and I'm in my own ideas, and you say something that triggers me and I stop listening to you, that's always going to be a huge threat to us advancing and moving forward. So in compassion, the ability to listen and not be overly sensitive about what's being said, is that's That's important
it's
because
it,
that
it,
oversensitivity is a huge
it.
problem.
You know what? I think Brian is a supporter of yours because you just said Dr. V asked deep, and he put deep in capital letters questions.
Well, I hope I answered those deep questions.
I feel.
We gotta go deep. We gotta go deep.
Well, I know that Tiffany is very deep, not only spiritually but emotionally, and so I know that she can handle these type of conversations. That's why I have her here sharing on this platform because she's a person that gives epic conversations. We're gonna start winding it down because we've kept her for a while and she always has so many things to do. Do you have any closing thoughts, comments you'd like to share with us in regards to compassionate leadership when it comes to ladies?
Well, I think um, again, we learning to manage our emotions, not control them, is important because when we're hypersensitive, nothing gets done. And my friends kind of tell me I don't have a lot of emotion, and it's not that I don't. I just have a good management system. Um, but also, we need to get back to our ability to listen deeply. That's like one of the number one keys for us being compassionate leaders. Having empathy, having empathy and humanity, because it's needed. There's so many things that come up that challenge our ability to look at another human being and make a humane choice versus a logical or financial, economic, or educated choice versus compassionate. And then also trusting our intuition. I think intuition is one of our best gifts in being a compassionate leader because for us to trust our intuition, that means that we're in tune to our spiritual nature. And when we're in tune to our spiritual nature and we're more connected to our spiritual source, we're more loving, we're more love, and therefore we're able to be more compassionate and we allow our instincts and our intuition to guide us in situations where maybe there's not a clear-cut answer. And so I think those are really three key points to being a compassionate leader and making a difference in society as we move forward.
One last thought process from you. What should men understand or pick up in regards to this subject when it compassionate leadership for women? What do men, whether they're in the boardroom or on the street, what do they need to understand in regards to this?
Well, the great thing is that compassionate leadership is for everybody and not just women. But for men, um, it's okay for them to be human and it's okay for them to be caring. It doesn't make them weak. It actually makes them stronger in a lot of ways. The same rules apply, the ability to listen. I think a lot of times um, with men, when they think they know something, they're very hesitant to listen. And so becoming a compassionate leader will push them to employ their listening skills. And they'll find that when they listen more, they'll actually start to hear the things that aren't being said. And they'll be able to have more success, more interaction. They'll be able to draw stronger followers, all those things. So being able to listen, having empathy, and also trusting your intuition is going to work if especially for corporations. It always starts at the top and trickles down. So if you are compassionate and you're compassionate to your employees feel good, the morale is high, they're compassionate to your clientele, their productivity goes up, the bottom line goes up. So it's a win-win all the way around. So being compassionate isn't a losing state. So know that too, men. It's okay for you guys to be soft.
There you go.
Er.
Yeah, there you go. You don't have to be, as I say to a lot of people, you don't have to be hard all the time. You have to be hard at the right time. And the same thing, you don't have to be soft all the time. You need to be soft at the right time.
Hmm.
So, Miss Tiffany, thank you so much for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule. Before we let you go, can you give contact information for people who want to reach out to you?
Yes, you can always contact me at Talk to Tiffany at tiffanyrashel.com. So that's TIFFANYRASHEL.com. And you can visit my website, www.tiffanyrashel.com. And I'd love to hear from you. You can check me out on Periscope. I almost forgot
Yes.
that. I'm
You,
on
yeah. You.
Periscope.
How could you forget
And it's
that?
right. I'm on Periscope and Instagram every day. Every day, I on Instagram I do a 1 minute breakfast with Tiffany motivational minute, and that's usually around 9 o'clock. My Periscope handle, my Twitter handle, and my Instagram is Tiffany Rashel and the number one. You can follow me on Periscope. I go deeper, so I'm on there for about 45 minutes or so, going deeper about the subject that I mentioned on Instagram. So it's a great time. I enjoy it myself, so you can find me there.
Well, and I just want to say, Brian, if you think I'm deep, you need to check her out on Periscope sometimes. She gets I need to take lessons from her sometimes because she gets deep, deep, deep. So it's all good. And let me just catch up here. Just want to give some thank yous to people who are either watching this live or on the replay. But live, we have Brian Lobig. Thank you so much for your great comments. Lena, thank you so much. Lena Anderson. Also, Shervella, she has a great comment here. She says, great show. Breakfast with Tiffany is always everything. She puts in capital letters, everything. So fantastic. And TiffanyRashel.com. Brian's put the link in. Hey, audience, thank you for making this such an outstanding conversation. It's a celebration because this is the first YouTube live conversation I've done with somebody. So there were some kinks, but we're going to get it right. We get a little bit better each and every day. And Brian has just said he's going to start following you. So there you go, Tiffany, one new follower, and he's a very wonderful gentleman, and wonderful family man. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm host and producer of the Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. I'm also president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. If you want to touch base with me, so many different ways, but I'll keep it short. Twitter is at DRVIBESHOW. Website address www.thedrvibeshow. And email address dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. You can also catch my conversations on different platforms like the Good Men Project, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play. I'm probably forgetting one or two others at the present time, but so what? Just put in dr.vibe show. You'll find me. I also want to say thanks again to everyone who... Thank you, Lena. Thank you so much. Wonderful show. Really appreciate it. And please don't be a stranger. And definitely follow Tiffany first. And if you want to, you can follow me, but follow her first. It is all good. So that is it for tonight. I also want a big thanks to Leon over in England who made this first conversation epic. So thank you so much. Remember, as always, and you can stay on after Tiff for a few seconds. You're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. And follow me. Keep up with the conversations. We have a whole week of conversations tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We have a gentleman named Gerald DeBose, who is an incredible businessman, has a lot of great thought process on business. He'll be again, God willing, it's going to be YouTube live, but just follow me. You'll find out. Also this week, too, we have conversations. We actually have a huge conversation happening on Wednesday night, scheduled to have Ray, who's a prominent member of the Hispanic American community, online community. And we have a gentleman named Dr. Tommy Curry. Ray is from the Hispanic American community. Tommy Curry from the African American community. They're going to talk about the legacy of Donald Trump and also what is in store in their opinion. Not the legacy of Donald Trump. He hasn't even served yet. The legacy of Barack Obama and what to expect with Donald Trump, what they're hearing from their respective communities. I'll leave it at there. There's more coming. I'm going to get off. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. And remember, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And bye-bye.